karanasan ko po, di na ba nakasalanan natin dito?
Media educators and journalists called to defend press freedom.
This corruption in media won't be reduced to
Good evening. You're watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel. I'm attorney Karen Jimeno, sitting in for Jing Magsaysay. I'm very excited about tonight's episode because I'm joined by two beautiful career women. Joining us are the editors-in-chief of some of the top women's magazines in the country. First is the editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan Magazine, Ms. Mirza Sison, and the editor-in-chief of Preview Magazine, Pauline Suaco-Juan. Good evening and thank you for being with us tonight.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and I'm really excited to have you both here. Very beautiful and, of course, like powerful career women. And first things first, tell us about your magazines. What do they stand for? So who wants to start, Cosmo or Preview?
Cosmopolitan is for the fun, fearless Filipina. Cosmo encourages the modern Filipina to dream big, go for it, whatever it is, and to be the best in every aspect of her life, whether it's fashion or beauty, career, health, self-esteem, whatever it is in her life, we help her be the best she can be.
That's a great goal. Cosmo is actually a foreign brand,
Yes,
right?
It's an international brand with 65 editions in around 65 countries.
So did you have to adapt Cosmo to the local Filipino culture?
Much of what's in Cosmo is a universal mix of the aspects that I mentioned, but each edition picks an editor who can localize it well so that the ideas are global but localized for its own market.
What about Preview Magazine?
That was such a long answer. I'll give you the short answer for previous. We're very, very focused on being the best fashion magazine. So our content is primarily catered to the Pinoy fashionista.
So more of the serious Pinoy fashionista.
Well, yes, actually, in a sense, it's a fashion magazine. So our content, although we do carry a lot of beauty, a little of society, and some lifestyle, it is primarily a fashion magazine. So it's for women and and some others
Like ordinary people.
who enjoy fashion.
Okay,
who
so
enjoy
it can
clothes,
be,
yeah.
you mean unisex, as long as you enjoy fashion.
As
then
long as
Preview
you
is for
enjoy
you.
fashion.
Okay, that's great to know. And another question I have, I used to watch Ugly Betty and also I've seen Devil Wears Prada. So can you tell us about the insider scoop on what the fashion industry is like? Is it really cutthroat or nasty? Give us the glamorous and unglamorous part of it.
Well, I think for me anyway, there's a lot to be said about being nice and to be polite and to be and to have manners. Mm-hmm. And the whole being a diva is so passé.
Yeah.
So it's a culture that I like to work with. Everybody respects each other and gives value to time and talent. So it's something that I don't like to play up. Mm-mm. Also because
so it's not like what
it's
we
a
see in the
stereotype,
movies.
definitely. Yeah. Sometimes it works to my advantage when people are intimidated and they expect you to be something that's. But generally, lots of things get done more by asking nicely, by being polite.
Yeah, and the glamorous part, is there a lot of traveling involved?
There is traveling involved. There is glamour involved,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot of hard work. There's also a lot of
Really, a lot of hours put in.
a lot of attention to detail, a lot of nitty-gritty that people don't see.
And for those who want to get into the fashion industry or at least fashion publishing industry, is this only for those who have been into fashion since they were young? For instance, you guys, how did you get into this position of being editors-in-chief?
Well, I started in broadcasting.
Oh, see, very far. I wouldn't say that
far.
a lot of people in broadcasting are fashionable, especially when you're out covering the floods or...
Yeah, a lot of the on-cam people are glamorous because you have to, have the hair, the makeup, and the clothes. But majority of the people who work behind the scenes are really your t-shirt and jeans and rubber shoes.
Okay. So this is the part we don't see.
Yeah, this is the part that we don't see. And obviously, well, I did come from that background. But I always really did like fashion magazines. I mean, when I did grad school in London, and I didn't have a TV. My form of entertainment was magazines. I started reading magazines. I started reading 17 when I was 7. So it's always been something that I've really, really enjoyed. So when I left broadcasting, it was something that I wanted to do as a sideline, but
You ended up.
Yeah, I ended up in it, and then 13 years later, I'm still there. Because
Yeah.
Mirza.
What about Mirza? I think
Mirza was like,
she has the look of
"No,
someone
stay
who's been in the fashion industry for a long time.
Well, I actually started as a computer programmer.
Oh my
Totally
gosh.
unrelated.
Yeah.
But I grew up with magazines.
Okay.
I've been reading magazines since
So
God
that's
knows
a good
when.
thing for a lot of people who are in different professions.
Yes.
Read magazines to balance out
Yes.
basically.
My dad
your-
owns a chain of bargain bookstores, and so I really grew up with all the magazines. So that early, I knew what each magazine was about, who the target market was. It was like an informal form of
Training.
publishing education. And then after computer programming, I became a model. So I got immersed in the fashion industry. So that in itself is training also. It's training and early networking, very early networking.
Yeah.
Until I became a fashion writer, and then I joined Preview, and then eventually Cosmo.
Okay, that's good.
She
So
was
you.
our first fashion editor.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting fact. We didn't even know that when we decided to do Preview and then Cosmo.
And I interviewed her
When she was
when I was
with the news
a
program.
reporter,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh,
she had just
small
launched
world.
Cosmo.
And both of you now in different magazines. And another question I'd like to ask is basically the role of magazines in shaping the basically perception of where we are in terms of fashion. Do you feel that your magazines have a social responsibility to shape what the appropriate fashion is, or basically where we should head in order to push people to be more fashion forward, or what should be considered as stylish or acceptable? Do you try to do that in your content?
On the agenda really is to promote Filipino talent.
That's good to know.
And that's what the magazine really is about. Not just fashion designers, but makeup artists, graphic artists.
So you consciously pull Filipino talents,
Yes,
like to do the makeup,
to do makeup, to do graphics, to do hair, to photograph, to style. It's a whole pool of Pinoy talent. So we push that. We create stories. We tell stories. We create pictures, and there's also, of course, text, and then there's also the more the more obvious aspects of selling clothes and beauty products, but mixed all in, the agenda for us first and foremost is really to promote Pinoy talent.
That's great, because you're more of a fashion magazine. Cosmo,
Yeah.
you
For
also
Cosmo,
have bringing out the best in women. So
Since its mission is self-improvement,
Yes.
we use fashion as a means of empowering every woman to use fashion to advance her career, make her look better as she goes through life, and really look her best while attaining her best. So for the Cosmo reader, fashion is a tool for empowerment and for improving oneself.
well, in Preview magazine this month, actually they did. I was part
She's
of
there.
Preview
She's
magazine
part.
because they did cover professional women in different types of work clothes. And you mentioned that the target market of Preview magazine are for those who are very fashionably aware, the Filipino fashionistas. Does this mean that you have basically readers who are serious professional women? And I would say, like, as someone from the law industry, we're not very fashion conscious. In my experience, even in courts, you're expected to wear just plain colors. You're not allowed to be too colorful. Has to be long skirts below the knee. So my question is this something that you find that a lot of professions, even from the non-fashion conscious professions, have inside of them fashionistas?
I think everyone has a fashionista inside them. It's just a matter of unleashing it, and if you're willing to unleash it or not. It's something that can be learned because of reading and exposure, knowing which, let's say, pegs or which women to look out for, how to decipher which trends are fit your body type or not. There's a whole lot going out there, which is why we're very we try to reach as much people as possible through sections like the one you came in, which is Fashion Workshop. And this one part of the magazine does teach our readers the elementary of fashion and how to incorporate like the trends
In your daily life,
into your daily life.
That's
yes.
good to know. We have to take a short break, but I have more questions,
Okay.
especially about your concept of beauty. News Cafe will return after these reminders. You are still watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel, and we are still joined by our guests, Mirza Season of Cosmopolitan Magazine and Pauline Suaco-Juan of Preview Magazine. So, something I've learned, Mirza has been around in the fashion industry for a long time, starting off as a model as well. And my question would be, have you seen a change basically in the evolution of the taste of the Filipinos for fashion, in the way we dress, or how accepting we are of more edgy or more adventurous clothing?
I think definitely so. Since the mid-90s when we started Preview to this day, I've seen the Filipina really come out of her shell and be more adventurous in terms of fashion. Before, everybody, as Pauline mentioned, everybody was in jeans and t-shirts. And it took a while before fashion magazines like Preview and eventually Cosmo probably woke up the Filipina and encouraged her to not be too afraid to try.
So you think magazines really
but
played
you
a role?
I'd say magazines played the role, but
However.
you have to understand that when Mirza talks about people in jeans and t-shirt, this is like what from the late 80s to the 90s,
Yes.
and then that was during that generation, which you have to point out was, I think, right for the time because. It also reflected what was happening globally. Minimalism was in, grunge was in.
Yeah.
We were not economically well. There was a crisis here. So all of that together does not really
There is a
Fit
context.
having too much of a glamorous look.
that was the context of
Yeah.
what was happening, and fashion didn't seem to fit in at that time. It wasn't a priority
Just
even
funny that
of the government then. But our fashion history goes way before that.
Would you
And if
say that there was a time that we were ahead or at least spearheading the fashion industry? At least in Asia.
in the 40s and the 50s, the Philippines was the center of the Asian universe.
A
Not
lot of people
Japan,
don't know that.
Not
How
Shanghai.
interesting.
So if you wanted to see the height of fashion, Manila was the place to be. So you had designers like Ramon Valera and Salvation Lim Higgins. All of these who were doing haute couture and producing fantastic designs that were on par with whatever you would see on the runways in Paris, for example. So Pinoys then were very attuned to fashion, and even like if you went further back in the turn of the century, by virtue of the Barot Saya, where everyone would bead or would embroider their own. All our ancestors used to do that. They would embroider their own camisa or the baro. It's innate in our history.
Now, where is our position in terms of being fashion forward, or as opposed to other countries? How fashionable are Filipinos?
I think she can answer
I
that.
think we got our mojo back.
Yes.
You know, people are finally enjoying fashion again, and which we've been seeing. Demand has been there. Everything fashion and anything related to fashion seems to sell now.
There's a boom in the retail industry. All
Right.
the brands have come in. It seems that there is a market. Otherwise, they wouldn't
That's
all
true,
be.
because even foreign brands have been entering
Well,
more
even
and more. I've seen
economically,
them.
I think
Yeah.
we're doing much better now. So there's more spending power for things other than the basic necessities, right?
And now I want to go into the concept of beauty. And in the US and Europe, for instance, there was a big controversy for fashion magazines to move away from the too skinny models. And primarily because they were saying it promoted eating disorders or very bad self-esteem. Do you think the Philippines has that same problem? And how do you then pick your models on that basis?
I don't think the ultra wave look has ever resonated
With the
with
Filipinos?
the Filipinos.
Are you saying we
I
love
think
our
we love
lechons too much?
we love our pork products and sugar too
and
much.
sugar, yeah.
I'm all for looking your best given the body type that you have, but I'm also for doing your best to keep as fit and healthy as you can, given what you were given. Obviously, not everyone can be an ultra thin waif,
Yeah.
but we can have good habits and eat well and
So
exercise
you mean
well.
Cosmo does not advocate for plus size?
I wouldn't
models?
say that. I think Cosmo is a friend to all sizes, and looking the best you can, as much as you can, is definitely its motto. But,
Yeah.
but for me, I'd like to promote a healthy lifestyle more than an unhealthy one.
Yeah, so that goes into
So
being
the
not
body
too
types that we
overweight.
should portray a healthy lifestyle.
That's good. What about preview?
I think it's basically the same. You want to promote good looks, right? But the context again has to be that you're not anorexic.
Yeah,
You are
healthy, basically.
Yeah.
Healthy and good well-being. No? What about fashion bloggers? Do magazines view them as a complement to your industry or as competition?
we realize is that it's a whole wide world out there that they have their place. It makes coverage. You have to be on your toes because obviously they are one form of competition, but the way they cover events and the way they let's say introduce products or fashion or beauty to their readers is very different from what magazines do. Most bloggers really come from I like this is what I think, and therefore it's up to you if you want to patronize or not. Magazines are more journalistic in standard, and we talk to a certain target audience. So it's not like a diary where today I used this and I liked it and bahala na who reads it and what you get out of it. We're very focused on our reader, on that niche that we serve. So everything that gets funneled into the magazine has that reader in mind.
So what I'm getting so far is that you obviously take into account what your readers are looking for or what they need. And that would also go into what their idea is of who to look to in terms of fashion images. Do you know of any type of person or at least image that Filipinos look up to in terms of yung fashion pegs nila? Like any specific person or more of a general concept?
I think you can't deny the power of celebrity, especially now in the time of Instagram, celebrity,
Yes, that's true.
and the various media like Facebook,
Yeah,
and
you
Twitter,
get fed basically
and
images, no,
Instagram,
of-
and I think the most immediate connection that they have with fashion on a general mainstream level is the celebrities, and so celebrities continue to dominate our covers. Celebrities continue.
Yeah,
to
I
be
noticed that.
their peg.
But that is kind of different from the trend before in foreign fashion magazines or even brand ambassadors. When before, I'm not sure if this was in
That
the
was what,
90s,
in the
when
80s,
they,
the 90s,
yeah, when
yeah.
this actually taboo to use celebrities. It was more of nameless models
Yes.
as your brand ambassadors or in
Well,
your
that's
ads?
changed.
It
'cause
all
even,
changed
Even,
in-
in
Even,
the-
yeah, I noticed now in the
US,
States.
It's
Yeah.
like that now.
So when they say, how come it's the same 12 girls?
Yeah.
Even in US magazines, it's whoever they love. It's
At
whoever
the
they
moment.
love to follow.
Whoever resonates with the fans.
Whoever.
And do you think that goes into what they perceive as the real personalities of these celebrities or the personalities that they portray in wherever they come out in, like some series or some movie?
It's hard to tell where their image ends and where their real
Yeah.
personalities begin. But
Although the audience really likes it when you glam them up,
Yeah.
when they're made to look like models and put in a setting wherein you have todo hair and makeup and all that. So I think that one is a source of fascination for the audience.
What about for designers? Who do Filipinas look up to when it comes to fashion, when it comes to designs?
My audience will tend to look at the global brands, and maybe some top designers here. But that's also because the global brands are very astute at packaging a lifestyle along with the brand. So if you mention a brand name, for example, there's that whole look already, that whole way of being that's associated with that. So you tend to kind of project yourself or relate to images like that.
What about Cosmo? Any
I agree
different?
with her, but maybe for my reader, it's really more value for money. Who can give her more bang for her buck, so to speak?
That's interesting. Very different types of audience for the two magazines. And my other question would be, when you mention celebrities, I'm curious, do you normally take into account their personal style when you dress them up for the cover or for features, or do you choose the clothes for them even if they're different from their personalities?
For us, when we ask celebrities to be on the cover, they're game. They're game to try a new style, to push their fashion boundaries, and to even try a new look. Our magazine is more, how do you say that? We try to push the boundaries in terms of what you can, or what the celebrity has already done with hair and makeup. Sometimes they tend to be unrecognizable, but you know, it's. We like to play with change. We like to play with new. We like to play with things that haven't been done.
Okay. And
For Cosmo, we want them to be recognizable.
okay.
There is a
so
cover
your policy
formula.
on airbrushing and no airbrushing, do you usually prohibit that or it's necessary?
We try to avoid it, and we don't like to alter drastically how they look, because in the end, they have to be who the
Who they
reader
really are.
thinks they are. So
I will be honest to say we airbrush to look, you know, to smoothen and so that they look their best.
Okay, so unfortunately, that is all the time we have for tonight. I would like to thank our guests, the beautiful Miss Mirza Season of Cosmopolitan Magazine and Pauline Suaco-Juan of Preview Magazine for being with us today. Join us again next Thursday for another round of discussion right here on News Cafe. Sitting in for Jing Magsaysay, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Good night.